Hi, guys. Welcome to the Cozy Reverie podcast. In this episode, we will be talking about fall activities. We're diving deep into fall in this episode. I know we did our kickoff episode about a month ago and we were talking about the transition of summer to fall, but I have so many more ideas and activities and just more in depth musings about fall. Now that we're kind of settling into the reality of fall, it's actually kicking off. And today is a new moon, you guys. And with that, I wanted to light a new candle. So here I have the Autumn Drive from Bath and Body Works. It is wild raspberry, warm amber, and vanilla birch. It is a fantastic blend of sweet and warm and vanilla, which is one of my favorite scents. I know, basic, but you can't go wrong with vanilla. So, with that being said, I kind of want to get back into candle making, you guys. Soap making, candle making. I don't know when I became a scents person, but it was probably within the last couple of years. And I have a passion for creating a really good ambiance using scent and always having a candle lit. And, you know, it's kind of questionable because some of them can be really toxic and carcinogenic. And then I think about my cats and also myself, but mostly my cats. And I think, wow, how could I do this in a safer way? But also just create my own scents. I think that sounds so much fun. So I used to work at this craft store and I actually have done some candle and soap making before. And that's how I know it's fairly easy and accessible, but I don't have any of my supplies anymore, so I want to kind of restart and I have a whole plan. So let me tell you, I'm going to start with hand soap because that is the easiest and most accessible. I have a hand soap pump thing, like a foaming hand soap dispenser. And then all you need from there is Castile soap, liquid Castile soap, and your fragrance oils. So here's my plan. I'm gonna be really witchy and create the ideal scent and play with scents that way because that's like the least risk way. There's no like heating up of chemicals, there's no melting, there's really not much to it. But in that way, I can come up with the best scents. Then I'm going to move on to melt and pour soap making, like bar soap. So, melt and pour is you literally just do what it says. You melt it, you pour it into a mold, you add your fragrance at some point in the stage, and then it hardens, and then you have this beautiful molded bar soap, which I love bar soap in the shower. I love a good lather from a good bar soap. And one of the things that inspired me to start doing this is I've been buying a lot of bar soap from the farmer's market and from Etsy, and I've been trying to get these really good smells, and I've been picking out my certain smells. And at the end of the day, they don't smell like anything. And so I thought maybe if I just make my own, I can make it smell really good. So we're going to see if I can be successful with that. And then lastly, candle making is a little bit more of a process. So I'm probably just going to ask for a candle making kit for Christmas because I want the thermometer and like all the things to be precise. Which I wish I could make candles for people for Christmas, but I think I'm just going to start with soap. And then if I get good at making soap, everyone's getting soap for Christmas this year. So that is another reason to start a new hobby this time of year because if you start early fall, then you can perfect it by Christmas time. You can have handmade, homemade soap or projects, whatever you decide to make for people, and you have a whole new skill by the end of the year. Next, I think, speaking of smells, homemade bread is something I want to get into. Now, with me being very sensitive to gluten, this is something I've avoided for a while. I did have a sourdough starter last year, which I did not take very good care of, but I think I'm going to try it again. And I want to fill my home with freshly baked bread because there's so much you can do with bread. It's infinite, right? There's so much you can do with baking, and especially with sourdough. And I know it's almost become like a meme at this point, people who do sourdough, but I just want to try my hand again at sourdough. And not even necessarily making just like loaves of bread, but making sourdough pancakes or sourdough muffins or sourdough cookies. There's so many different things you can do with sourdough and with the discard. And I do think making bread would be fun because then you always have the lovely scent of bread. It can be kind of ritualistic. And you always have bread on hand, which bread goes with a lot of things. You could also even make that as a gift for people, for the community. So yeah, developing new skills is a big thing on my list of activities for fall this year. Next, um, I think I'm getting ambitious, but sewing, knitting, and crocheting. So, like, knitting and crocheting are fairly easy, from what I understand. And that is a hobby. If you haven't started, maybe pick that up now, and you can have, again, gifts for your loved ones. You could crochet everybody a blanket by the end of the year. And it's kind of a mindless thing. Like you can watch a movie and crochet your blanket, or you can listen to your book and crochet your whatever. And it's kind of a hobby you can multitask at, which makes it a super cozy hobby. I really want to get into sewing. I really doubt that I will this year, but that's on my list every year, just because there's so much you can do with sewing, and the idea of creating your own pieces and using your own materials, and there's so many free patterns out there on Pinterest, and that that's going to be on my list. I mean, that doesn't even have to be a fall thing. That could be a spring thing. That could be an any time of year thing. But I think of knitting and crocheting. I think of the fall. I think of winter. I think of coziness, crocheting by the fire, listening to some good music, make it a vibe. Next, I want to start an indoor herb garden. I know this sounds kind of springy, but hear me out. I garden outside in the spring and summer. I want to have herbs year round because I use them in cooking. I use parsley, I use cilantro, I use a heck of a lot of mint and basil. And I had an arrow garden a couple of years ago, but it only worked well with certain herbs and certain plants. And so I think what I'm going to do is combine kind of two hobbies, combine my passion for upcycling, which I have not really been doing in the last few years, but what I do is I take either glass bottles or tin cans and I decorate them, usually with like cardstock or paint or whatever, and I make them into, in this case, it would be herb jars. I have a couple that I'm looking at right now that I turn into pencil holders that are so precious. I've had them for like 10 years. I never thought I would like keep them this long, but they're actually really cute. And so I've been kind of saving some old food cans. I'm going to drill holes in the bottom for drainage and then just decorate them super cute and plant little herbs in them. Preferably before it gets too cold because herbs just grow faster and better when it is more sunny and you get more daylight. So I'm probably going to do that within the next few weeks. And I think that's a fantastic idea too if you want to share herbs with people, because once they start growing, you can propagate them and you can share them with people and even give those as gifts. So almost all of these hobbies are things that you could also give to people. And this is going to be the season of giving. So why not cultivate hobbies that you can share with other people? Now, the next hobby or activity that I have on my list is actually decluttering using the Marie Kondo method. Now, if you have your own method for decluttering, yes, go for it. But if you need one or if you want to upgrade, Marie Kondo came out with this book 10 to 15 years ago. It's called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. And then Netflix came out with a little series and she went to people's houses and she decluttered for them. I think it is the best decluttering system. And I delved back into her book recently and decluttered my wardrobe with it. And I think decluttering and, like just working on your home around this time is perfect because you are likely going to be spending more time indoors and you want your home to feel nice and you want it to not feel cluttered. And we all know the effects of clutter on the brain and mental health are not good. So take a weekend out of your month, declutter. And Marie Kondo says you want to do it all at once. So if you can, maybe take a 3-day weekend and declutter your whole house. And it's going to be intense, but it's going to be so rewarding and your life will feel so seamless after. I actually am getting back into kind of a lot of sustainable habits. I got onto this website called ThreadUp, which I've used in the past, but it's been years. I used to thrift everything in my 20s. I loved thrifting. I have so many thrifted pieces still. But since I got back into like working in clothing, my discount is so great and I get a lot of stuff for free that I just don't really think about thrifting. But I needed a couple of just inexpensive tank tops for my yoga teaching job because I teach at this public gym. I'm supposed to wear like longer tank tops, not cut off or crop, and I have so many crops slash things just don't fit me right because of my proportions. So my tank tops kind of slide up, and so then you're seeing my midriff, and I'm like, okay, I want to follow the dress code, but I don't want to spend a ton of money on it. And so I went to ThreadUp and I'm going to use them to help me declutter. So basically I found what I wanted, which by the way, their database is fantastic. I found that you could take a picture. So I would search what I wanted on Amazon, get the picture because I don't want to shop on Amazon, but I would take a screenshot, upload it to ThreadUp, and they'll show you everything in their database that's a similar color, similar cut, style, all of that. And that's exactly how I found exactly what I was looking for very quickly. So props to ThreadUp for having such a convenient way to shop. They have thousands and thousands of items there. So if you're just scrolling through, it's going to take you a while to find what you're looking for. But that picture searching method is very convenient. So anyway, I bought my tank tops, which I'm very satisfied with. But I'm also getting a bag sent to me, which I can fill with my items that I want to sell and get a kickback from if they sell on ThreadUp, which I'm so excited for because I struggle motivating myself to sell things. I used to sell on eBay, which was very successful. I made a good amount of money on it, but that's time consuming. And then you have to ship it and you have to take pictures and you have to list it all yourself. There's a local resale place, but that's also time consuming. It involves leaving the house, which I don't enjoy ever. And then you have to wait for them to look at your stuff. You don't get much of a kickback. It's also a lot of work. So I'm so excited that I found this opportunity from ThreadUp, which I think I knew about before, but I just never took advantage of. So I'm excited to see if my items sell, if I get the kickback. You can get, I think, credit or you can get money, and then I will have infinite tank tops to teach my yoga classes in, ideally. And they have a lot of brands on there that I love, like Beyond Yoga and Prana and Patagonia and Viore, stuff that I wear normally. So it's really satisfying. So anyway, getting back into thrifting and using that as a way to declutter has been very satisfying. Next, I want to talk about my cozy TBR list. So I think I mentioned in last week's episode that I'm reading the Spell Shop / listening to the Spell Shop on audio. I have had so many cozy books on my TBR list for like years, and it's like my fantasy self. I am very much a nonfiction book reader. I'm very practical. I would love the idea of reading a fantasy book. You know what? I'm reading one now. I am reading a cozy fantasy book called The Spell Shop. Well, listening to it. And I love it. Now that I've kind of had a taste of what it feels like to read these books, I'm into it. So, more on my TBR list, the Legends and Lattes series. The rest of the Spell Shop series, there's the Enchanted something. And then the Emily Wilde series is also on my TBR list, and the Tomes and Tea. There's a lot. There's a lot that I want to read, and they're all cozy. I highly recommend listening to a cozy book and or reading one or whatever your preferred method of intaking books. Because I was reading this really dense history book, you guys, which I loved and I think is really important to learn about, but it can be very depressing, especially some of the topics of like, I don't even want to get into it, but it was weighing me down and I was getting actually like my mental health was being affected. And I thought, okay, I'm going to break it up and I'm going to listen to something a little bit lighter. And here we are listening to The Spell Shop. It is totally magical and beautiful and cozy and lovely. And I would love to hear what's on your TBR list, you guys. Please comment down below. Last but not least, we are going into October very soon, and what better way to celebrate October than a spooky movie night? Or if you're lucky like me, we have a drive-in theater that does spooky movie nights all throughout October, and I love going to the drive-in, especially in like, I like the summer, but like the transition into fall is perfect too because it's crisp and cool and the snacks are not as expensive as the regular movie theater. I always point that out because it's insane how expensive they can get. Or you can bring your own snacks. It's not like they're checking your car. And it's also a really low cost way to enjoy the season. Have a spooky movie night at your house, make your own snacks, make some candied apples, have your friends over, make some crafts. Maybe you guys can all make some soap, candles, knit, crochet, sew, or make indoor herb garden containers together at your spooky get together. You guys, it has been real. I have recorded this episode like 5 times. I hope this one sticks. And I will see you, talk to you, chat to you in a week or two and enjoy this transition into fall. Bye.